Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the August 3, 2021 meeting of the Orangetown Plan and Zoning Commission. I am Commissioner Ozzie Parenti. Go ahead. I was going to introduce you, but you can do it yourself. No, go right ahead.
Tammy Trantalis, Administrative Assistant.
You want us to introduce ourselves?
Please.
Tom Tarenti. Paul Kaplan.
Jack Demergen, Zoning Enforcement Officer.
All right. Some of us are here tonight. Judy Smith and Kevin Cornell both have prior engagements, so unfortunately they won't be with us this evening. But we have a quorum, and a light agenda, so that should be good. All right, let's get started. First item on the agenda is a review of the minutes from the July 6, 2021 meeting. Everybody get a chance to look those over? I had a couple of comments, which I will give you. They're both on page 3. Now, in that, I guess it's the fourth full paragraph on the page. This paragraph begins, discussion ensued regarding that paragraph. And then in the middle of that paragraph, it says, ZEO Demergen stated that it is beneficial to have the purpose of large buildings on the record so no one could misuse the use of the structure in the future. I understand what you were getting at there. I think Jack's point was, even though they may not require technically a special permit for an oversized building, it's still good to bring them before the commission. That way the applicant commits to what they intend to do with the addition, and we have that of record. But I thought the language could be a little better. So on the second line, purpose of large buildings on the record, so after the word so, then put in so a future inconsistent use would be apparent. And then I would take out the rest of that sentence.
Okay.
I think that's a little better.
Alrighty. Yes.
All right. And then there's a paragraph 1, 2, third up from the bottom of that page. Chairman Parenti opined that referring proposals with large structures to the commission was a good policy to continue. I would say large accessory structures, and then I would say after the word structures, in the residential zone, because I think this is all about accessory structures oversized in the residential zone.
Okay.
And those were the only 2 comments I had.
I don't have anything.
Okay. All right, then.
I'll move that we approve the July 6, 2021 minutes as
Tom,
amended.
We use second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve. It's been seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Okay. Next item on the agenda is old business. Discussion of short-term rental regulation. Why don't we come back to that one? Let's complete the rest of the agenda,
Sure.
and then we'll catch that one at last. Maybe you can, under new business or old, do you have anything else under old business beside the Airbnb discussion?
I don't know.
All right, is anybody else? All right, under new business, maybe you could bring us up to date on your, I saw today there, a few enforcement letters came in.
Yes.
Maybe you could update us on your
Sure. So we've had
enforcement activities.
a couple issues just with commercial activity in the residential zone. I think with this time of the year, I think there's a little more activity with contractors, landscapers, things like that. Mainly, it's vehicles that are being stored in the residential zone that we've had some complaints about. So that's been a focus of ours recently.
And is it the size? In other words, if it's a van and it has the name of the business on the side, that would turn the trick to being...
That is a commercial vehicle, yes.
Got it. Okay.
What I look for, not only in the size, but if it has advertisement on it, it's almost essentially could be considered a sign or advertisement in the residential zone. So that specifically is something that I look for when picking out vehicles. So
Maybe you just said this and I missed it, but is there, can you have one vehicle?
you
One
can have
commercial vehicle?
one commercial vehicle under 7,500 pounds in an enclosed garage.
Okay, so you
it
can't
shouldn't-
park it in the driveway?
It should not be visible from the street, correct.
Because I imagine a lot of people take them home and get in them and go to work the next day, you know?
Right.
But technically, that's not,
It's okay as long as it's in the,
Yeah.
it's okay.
As long as it's be able to park in the garage.
right, but
It
if
has to be
And-
enclosed.
Most commercial vehicles.
they don't fit in the garage,
Right.
right? So that doesn't help anybody.
Right.
So you got a lot of work ahead of you there.
Yeah. So I've definitely had a couple addresses pop up that I've been keeping an eye on, and as you all saw today, sending out some letters. So.
Yeah, it sounds like there was a lot going on in Ridgeview.
Yeah, Ridgeview, there were a number of houses that I've been keeping an eye on in that area, Ridge, Oakview, things like that. So
All right.
couldn't tell you why that one area specifically has been more active than the rest, but it has been.
Yeah. Well, I guess, I mean, you'll do the best you can. You're going to spend as much time as
Right.
as you can on enforcement. I mean, I imagine you'll get the worst offenders first.
Absolutely. And as you can imagine, people are driving these vehicles to work. So during the workday, they're not at home. So I've been going after work, 7:30, 8 o'clock, driving around, seeing what's there, who's not, and
Responding to complaints, or is it just,
what the initial was a complaint, and then the individual who was one of the people noticed, provided a list of addresses and names that were doing something similar. So I've been sure to check those out as well, all over town. Some of them certainly more apparent than others, but like I said, a lot of it during work hours, you're not going to see anything because everybody's at work.
Yeah. Well, it seems like a large task for you, and then you combine with that the signs. You want to stay on top of the signs.
Yeah, and we have improved on the signs. I have had a lot of people take them down, and I'm making sure I'm keeping on the ones who haven't.
All right. All right. Well, keep it up. I
Thank
guess.
you. Yeah,
I don't
absolutely.
know what else to say, but I mean, there's a whole procedure, for dealing with it, and it starts with a letter from you.
Starts with a letter and kind of ends where they want it to end, really.
Right. All right. Jack, anything else under new business or in your report?
I do have one thing on the report that I wanted to just touch on a little bit. Still a little preliminary, but the state of Connecticut is requiring every municipality to come up with an affordable housing plan. And the South Central Council of Governments, which is our council, is implementing a mass plan for the entirety of our region. So you can opt to have as a single municipality, Orange can opt to have their own, but it didn't really make a whole lot of sense, and I know they've spoken with the first selectman about it.
would the state accept a uniform plan from the?
Yes, they would. So it's actually being run by the South Central Council of Governments. They've hired an outside company, RKG Associates, which, is out of Boston, to come up with this plan. And they're at the preliminary stage now where they're gathering data. Obviously, not all municipalities in our region are going to be the same. Some of them have quite a bit of difference. So we have been working on a survey to kind of ask people and get their feelings towards affordable housing, where each municipality sits in how much they have, what are they striving for. So we're kind of working on that, again, very early on. But as it starts to progress, we might have a meeting or a representative from RKG as well as the Council of Governments kind of working with us to get a feel for how we want to move in the future. Obviously Orange is going to have different goals and standards than New Haven is going to have. So it is a region-based, but they will also be meeting with individual municipalities to get our individual, needs and goals. So that is something that we have been working on. I've gone to a couple meetings regarding that. But as it moves forward, I'm going to update everybody here and
Nothing we need to do urgently.
No, nothing as of yet. Just wanted to let you know because it is a requirement that the state just implemented. So So everybody has their requirements filled, which is kind of why they're doing this broad sense of a survey and getting our goals defined. So in the coming months and honestly years, probably we'll be working on that.
Okay,
Other than that, I have nothing.
all right. So anybody else have anything under new business or any questions for Jack? Jack?
Yeah, actually, one
Thing. The state extended the ability to have outdoor dining, or at least the made it easier for the restaurants.
They did, yep.
Okay. Is anyone coming in additionally from what we have?
Nobody recently or specifically saying, I want new outdoor dining. A lot of it was the same people that did it the year before. So right when COVID hit. So we do have probably 3 to 5 businesses exercising that right. So they don't have the special permit for outside dining, but they do have outdoor dining set up based on what they've provided to us. And that goes, I think, until March 22nd of 2022.
After that, what happens?
They have to be taken down, or they have to apply
For a
the
special
full
permit.
special permit.
Right.
Right.
Okay. How about Firelight? Anything happening there?
We've had a couple inquiries, just, people calling, asking what was approved. A couple architects and engineers calling and just asking for the contact information of the developers. Other than that, not a whole lot.
timeline for that.
Yeah, I was thinking in terms of
No, I've not
getting the work
gotten
underway.
in touch with them. I could certainly reach out to them and see what they're. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Hoping to break ground in the fall.
Yeah, absolutely.
well, that'd be great. That's not too far away. All right. Then, Jack, why don't we circle back to this other agenda item, discussion of short-term rental regulations. This is the Airbnb discussion that we've been having for probably a couple of years now, in fits and starts, but
Yeah, so where we left off after a couple preliminary conversations was, what are our regulatory goals with short-term rentals? Do we want to prohibit them altogether? Do we want them only approvable based on special permit application? Do we don't feel as though we really have to regulate them at all, as we certainly don't have a lot of short-term rental issues currently? But it's kind of, what is our end goal going to be for these short-term rental units that could potentially pop up anywhere? So,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think when we originally started to look at this, I mean, it was sort of presented as a big problem and one that was going to get worse as time went on,
Right.
and we needed to do something about it. And I don't know. I for one, I don't know that I'm of that mind anymore. You know what I mean? Or
Well, it probably
ever
still
was.
makes sense, though, to address the issue, because it will come up, and it's nice to have at least something, since we've already identified it, in place.
But what are we trying to protect against?
I'll tell you what my thoughts are on this,
Yeah.
is that it's a commercial enterprise. There's no other way around it. And you're in a residential zone, and if no one was hurt, I would say, who cares? No harm, no foul. But what does occur is that there's a constant in and out of people, cars trying to pull out of your driveway with cars parked in different areas. To me, it's an acknowledgement that at least what we're on the track of doing here is somehow either regulating it or banning it or doing something, but at least dealing with the issue. And you're right. I don't think it's been. Jack obviously hasn't come here and said,
Yeah.
"Hey, everyone's calling about short-term rentals."
right.
I mean, it's still a residential use, even if the property is.
Absolutely.
It's still a residential use.
The only complaint that I've really received.
I mean, we do
thus
have some commercial. We permit commercial uses under special
a home occupancy, yes.
home occupancy.
Or, I'm sorry,
Right. This
Oh,
well, nobody.
No, I'm talking about.
Like the wine, you're talking about in the
Right,
residential
well,
zone?
Yeah, running a business out of your
Farm,
house.
or a farm stand, even that, I think the way I see it is that the running the business inside of the house
Mm-hmm.
is not something that we, first of all, I don't think we can regulate. I mean, it would be impossible to regulate, nor should we even, because it's not affecting anybody else. My problem
Well,
is,
we do regulate it. It is by special permit to get a home employment special permit.
No, I don't know about that, Jack.
It is, let's see.
383-26,
Special uses.
J. A home occupation or home office which meets all of the following provision shall be permitted as an accessory use subject to the
Oh, I'm
issues.
sorry, yeah, it's not a special permit.
it's not
but
a special
It does
permit.
have to be permitted.
But yeah, and then it specifically prohibits certain types of uses.
yeah, that's what I was anticipating.
Right.
It doesn't affect any of the neighbors to any meaningful
Yeah,
way.
the pretty much the entirety of that application is getting the applicant to sign off on by looking at the exterior of the building and by
Right.
traffic, you would have no idea that it's going on in there.
Right.
It's essentially going to be a home office.
Right.
So no business would be permittable in the residential zone if you could tell if there is commercial equipment, anything that you wouldn't normally find in your household office or something similar.
Yeah, and I kind of see the Airbnb. I mean, listen, it certainly can be run in an obtrusive fashion, but I always get worried that it will be done more like a hotel. It's every day or every other day that people are coming in and out and changing with more cars. Is it 2 cars? Is it 3 cars additional? Where are they putting these cars? Are we going to just allow off-street parking, and that's fine, and then really no harm, no foul? Or are we going to say if there's not off-street parking and you're happening to park on the street, are we going to look the other way about
Yeah.
that?
If that's the way you feel, then we're probably looking at more extensive regulations like you had gotten from town of Simsbury.
Right, and then
One
Go
of
ahead,
the
I'm sorry.
main issues, and again, this hasn't been a prevalent issue currently.
Right.
But when I have received 1 or 2 complaints, it's not so much the concern of a party, which is certainly something to think about, where people are just renting this out for the weekend, party, and then leave. But it's the potential to have a new neighbor every month. Is you don't know who these people are, and I've gotten calls saying
Security issues.
there's different cars here, there's different people every month or every week, and that's one of the main concerns as well.
But even with, I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, what's the difference?
Right.
I mean,
why shouldn't I have the right to have my house used in any fashion that I see fit, as long as it doesn't negatively impact somebody else?
Right.
right. I mean, if the family to whom you were renting the house to threw a major party there, and they were up, in the middle of the night playing loud
That's a
music.
violation of other statutes.
Yeah,
other
we have a
regulations.
police department.
Right.
That would end right away.
Right.
If it were addressed with the police, If they destroyed the house, then that's
your problem.
It's sort of the owner's problem.
Yeah.
How's that the town's problem?
Right. So you're of the opinion less regulation, and I'm not necessarily opposed to this. Let's regulate when we have to. This is a regulation looking
Well,
for a problem.
I'm trying to think. What are we trying to prevent? What are we really concerned about?
Yeah. Well, I'm just concerned about the frequency of the changeover, not for the personnel, but how many cars are we allowing, and are we allowing them on the street? Right now, there's no prohibition about any of that, which may not affect people, but the skinnier streets, having 2 or 3 cars on the street may affect people from being able to back out in any without having to navigate.
We have that all over town all the time. Streets
It's
got,
a fair comment.
people come, they have parties, they park on the street.
I will
Right.
say, just to throw this out there as well, there are sites where you can market just parts of your house. So there was a site, and actually the sanitarium brought it to my attention. There was a property in town renting out their pool for a day. So you could rent these people's pool for hours at a time,
Yeah.
which I have seen, which I had never seen before, but I did
So
look it
people
up.
want to have a family get together.
Absolutely. In the middle of the day, you could rent it out for a whole day, or you could rent it out for 2 hours, but you could rent out your pools. I had never heard of that before, but I looked it up, and sure enough, there it was.
Do you have any calls
how many calls have you had regarding Airbnbs?
None
You mean
since-
problems with?
Yeah.
Problems, the only one that I can remember is actually when Paul Denise was still here. Towards the end of his tenure, we had one on the other side of 34 that we addressed, but other than that, I have not had any issues. I have seen listings, but I have not had any problems with them. Nobody's called and complained.
I'm sorry.
I assume it occurs, it's just that if it doesn't have a problem, why are we regulating it?
That's sort of where I am, unless I'm missing something on this. You know
No,
what mean?
I don't,
mean,
listen, the
you
proof
know.
is here.
Yeah,
The
I
proof
think
is
the
right.
Because I
think
looked
the
at those
idea- I think the
Simsbury
parking-
regulations, they're great detail, and I don't know, I mean, do we have a big enough issue that we
No,
really want to?
not right now we don't.
That we want to adopt that type of regulation? And then, how do you keep track of all that?
You got to regularly check the sites.
Well, that's one,
Yeah.
I was just gonna go with the complaints.
Oh, yeah, well, that too, but if nobody's complaining, but
Well, that's my point, yeah.
if
I
you,
think
but
you're right.
if you regulate it where they're prohibited, then I would have to monitor all of these, short-term rental sites and see
I mean, I
who's
think it
doing
would be an overwhelming burden. I don't think you'd have to worry about commercial vehicles in people's driveways anymore, because you
Right.
wouldn't have time for it.
Oh, Jack's gonna get an assistant.
No, I mean, it's just, I think you gotta look ahead to what the enforcement action would be
Right.
for violations, and
Regardless,
it would
it's
be
not-
impossible.
It's not worth pursuing this right now because of the lack of.
It is not a prevalent issue. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I guess it would be more problematic if we were, in a ski area, near a ski area, or near the beach, or,
Not a whole lot of tourism around here, yeah.
I mean, we are well located if you want to go to Boston or New York or whatever, but I don't know that,
I agree. I certainly haven't
it's
seen.
not a destination.
Yeah. Unless you want to go to the Pez factory, there's not a whole lot here for people to come see. But
And we like it that way.
we like it that way,
Right.
absolutely. So you're right. I have not had call after call about this. In the future, could it become a problem? Yes, but we could address it then.
we'll deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, the closest thing we have in our regulations is the, what do they call it? Single family,
We're looking at
38326B, the letting of rooms and/or furnishing of board in a dwelling unit to a total of not more than 4 persons. That's a permitted use, subject to the following conditions. And the very first one is the person or persons letting the rooms and/or furnishing board shall reside in the dwelling unit.
that'll have a chilling effect.
So, I mean, doesn't that? Yeah, I mean.
It's your area right over there, that 5 feet.
Right. So I don't know. I guess what I was sort of thinking is that in a way prohibits Airbnbs because the person furnishing letting the rooms is not in possession of the property at the same time.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, they may already be prohibited. Is what I'm
They
getting
very
at.
well could be. I'm sure there are options where you can get an Airbnb and the owner just stays in his half of the house, but again, that's nitpicking.
Paul had drafted some language. He added in that section a subsection 5, which would say the letting of rooms
Yes.
for daily or weekly term rentals are prohibited. The letting of rooms and/or furnishing of board must be for a period of at least 30 days. So I think
Any of those would be sufficient when we deal with the problem.
right.
That section was sort of focused on that turnover rate, where these rentals exclude short-term rentals, where you could have 4 different people, every week of the month.
Right.
So,
I don't know. I mean, short-term rentals. I mean, is it 30 days? Is it 60 days? I mean, supposing somebody goes to Florida for 60 days in the wintertime, and they have an opportunity to rent their house for that 60-day period. Are we going to get in the way of that?
Not right now, no.
No, I can't see why we would do that. I mean, we can keep this on our agenda and kick it around with Kevin and
I
think until we get
Judy, but
yeah,
I'm
sure.
not,
But until we get a bunch of problems, I think it's a regulation looking for a problem.
I agree.
yeah, and I just can't get that revved up over it, you know? What do you think, Tom?
I'm with you.
Yeah,
Can't get very revved up over it.
yeah.
And again, I don't, I think regulation of it would be a nightmare.
Well, it would look
Personally.
like that thing from Simsbury, and, you know, that's, yeah, a nightmare in terms of enforcement.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna sort of,
It would be.
no question about that.
Mhm.
All right, well, I don't know, do you think we should even bother putting it on our agenda for next week, or next?
We raised the issue with Judy and Kevin. I can't imagine they're going to have much of a difference in our take, but raise it, see what they say. But
All
other
right,
than that,
why don't we put it as a separate agenda item for next meeting? And we'll see if Judy or Kevin can convince us that we're all wrong on it, you know what I mean?
well,
All right,
Kevin's house next door is rented out as an area.
yeah. All right, well, you know what, a half-hour meeting, not even, but that's our agenda.
Move to adjourn.
That is our
Move
agenda.
to adjourn?
Yeah.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Yeah.
Second.
Oh,
All right, we have a motion to adjourn. It's been seconded. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. Okay, meeting adjourned, 7:30.